Welcome to the Rock Fight, where we speak our truth, slay sacred cows, and sometimes agree to disagree. This is an outdoor podcast that aims for the head. I'm Colin True, and today we get to deep dive into one of the more unique stories to come out of the outdoor retail and brand scene in the past few weeks. But before we get to that, a few housekeeping items. Please follow and rate the Rock Fight wherever you're listening to this podcast, on whatever podcast app you're listening to us on. Leave us that 5-star rating, write a review, follow the show. Please, that would be wonderful. If you like the Rock Fight, you'll definitely like Gear and Beer. And this Friday, you'll get a brand new episode of Gear and Beer, where we're talking about a super cool camping product. Find that show wherever you're listening to this show. And lastly, we want to hear from you. Send us your feedback by sending an email to myrockfight@gmail.com. And all right, one quick break to pay the bills, and then let's start the show.
Welcome to the Rock Fight, Rock Fight, Rock Fight.
This episode of the Rock Fight is brought to you by the Great Malden Outdoors, an outdoor enablement campaign in the city of Malden, Massachusetts. For far too long, the outdoor industry has struggled with how to address the topics of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the Great Malden Outdoors is providing concrete action that outdoor brands and retailers can take to make a real difference. Situated just outside of Boston, Malden, Massachusetts is culturally diverse with an abundance of outdoor recreational opportunities, and they're seeking the assistance of outdoor brands and retailers. If you work at an outdoor brand or at a retail shop, they're looking for donations, looking for your product, maybe your time, definitely some of your money. Head to thegreatmaldenOutdoors.com and click contact to reach out and start a partnership today. Last month, it was announced that Black Diamond and Denver-based retailer Wilderness Exchange were starting a new collaboration. Unlike brand and retailer partnerships of the past, where a brand would set up a sort of shop-in-shop to have a larger presence inside of a retailer, this arrangement will allow Wilderness Exchange to remain independent, with the store becoming essentially a Black Diamond store. But unlike other brand-run retail fronts, Wilderness Exchange will continue to carry other brands and adjacent categories. But before you start to think this is just a retailer carrying a lot of Black Diamond products, it goes deeper than that. Wilderness Exchange is going to close starting in October for a full renovation before reopening in January. Yeah, they're forfeiting an entire holiday season in order to relaunch as BD's partner. The unique relationship here caught my attention. We covered it here on The Rock Fight when it was announced, but I definitely had some questions that I needed to have answered, so I reached out to Don Bushy, the founder and owner of the Wilderness Exchange, and invited him on the show to help answer some of those questions. I also contacted Neil Fisk, the president of Black Diamond, and we're hoping he'll join the show in a couple of weeks. But Don is here today, so let's get into it. Welcome back to The Rock Fight, where today it's the dawn of a new outdoor brand and retail partnership with Don Bushy. All right, we're here today with Don Bushy, owner of the Wilderness Exchange in Denver. Welcome to the show, Don.
Well, thank you, Colin. It's great to be on a podcast with you. As I've been following some of your episodes, and you explore some pretty interesting topics in the outdoor industry.
Appreciate you being on and checking out the show as well. So, a few weeks ago, it was reported that your shop would be closing actually for renovations when you reopen in January. Wilderness Exchange will still be independently owned and called the Wilderness Exchange, but you will be a quote unquote Black Diamond mountain shop and factory outlet. Correct. So let's just start with, how did the relationship with you and Black Diamond come together? And why you've owned the shop since 99 2000 range. So why did you decide to take the shop in this direction?
When I started Wilderness Exchange, initially the concept was, we would do some closeouts and used in consignment, and be the shop where it's sort of more of an everyman shop, breaking down the gatekeepers or the elitism that was often associated with especially outdoor retail. Shops in the 90s had to basically, there was no internet, there was internet, but there was no such thing as really e-commerce at that point, and specialty shops were the place you went to get information, the service you needed, local knowledge, and the expertise. And the shops of that era, most of them, started in the 1970s, and they were often founded by, people like Gary Neptune, Rich Gottlieb at Rock and Stone, real experts in their field of knowledge, and they became the place really where the community and the tribe gathered for just sort of not just celebrating outdoor sports, but telling stories, gearing up, and all of that. And that was my experience. I bought my first ice axe. My mom and dad took me up to the a Benchmark no longer exists, but in the Detroit area, Benchmark was one of those specialty shops of that era. And walking into there and buying my first ice axe, it was like a pilgrimage. It was like the living, breathing heart of the sports that we do. And that it's always been kind of a special place to me, like outdoor specialty stores. I think we still do that on maybe a different level than we did in the 90s.
Yeah.
But as things have progressed, we've changed and evolved. I started my shop in 2000. It was right at the time when, boy, most people didn't have an email until the late 90s. And, e-commerce was still not a thing. I mean, we started to buy airplane tickets. We'd reserve cars, but you didn't really buy consumer goods online yet.
There was a little company that sold books.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Baseman Bezos. Yeah,
Yeah,
that guy.
right. Baseman.
We searched on. I remember Yahoo was our search engine. Google wasn't really widely used.
Sure.
So we opened a shop really in the analog era. And really a lot of the shops that came about during my era of opening the business, or maybe call them Gen X shops, we all had.
I like that. I identify with that.
We all sort of, and I can think of many, Outdoor Gear Exchange, Second Ascent in Seattle.
Midwest Mountaineering.
Midwest, they were there for a while. Rod was at it for a long time. But this sort of Gen X generation of shop really were kind of like breaking down the barriers of access, I think, to the outdoors. That was a lot of our sort of mission when we started. And part of that was the affordability part of getting outdoors. And that was the mission to start. And I think it's still our mission today. And the Black Diamond shop came into a discussion with the new leadership at Black Diamond. Neil Fisk, new CEO of Black Diamond, took over the company in October. And he went on this listening tour all through the West. I mean, I think the first couple of weeks he took the helm at BD. He visited with all the key retailers, and he asked us two questions. What are the challenges right now of doing business with Black Diamond, and what can we do to deepen our partnership and to create better business? And this whole thing's really started from that discussion.
So was it a collaborative point you guys got to, or was it something that they conceived of? Or did they approach you with the
kind of both? At that time, I was starting to realize that we needed to continue to evolve our business model. I was thinking of other opportunities in other marketplaces. The idea of a partnership with Black Diamond started to kind of percolate at that point. Mm-hmm. And it was really more or less just talking creatively with the leadership team there that started to bubble up.
So what will the main differences be, right? Because it's like I on paper, like just all I know is what I've read, in the Daily or SGB or whatever. So it's kind of like the idea, and I'm very familiar from my retail background and brand background of, you'll see shop in shops at different places. Like, by the best one I ever saw probably in my tenure was at Timberland. You'd go to Paragon Sports in New York City, and this huge Timberland display like built into the wall with branding and everything that way near the footwear floor at Paragon. And then you see variations of that depending on how much real estate you have to play with or whatever in various forms across shops all over the place. But what was some of the different? This sounds like this is going to be a different thing. This is almost like Black Diamond coming in and taking over the shop in a way. Is that accurate? Is that exactly how this is going to go?
Well, I think like the store within a store idea that really became popular during the 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah.
Timberland did it, Marmot did it. Essentially, a company would come in, fixture and merchandise a certain amount of area, and they would give you, more agreeable terms and points, and the business metrics were changed slightly, but they were still owner operated. There was no contractual agreement there. I think a lot of business owners saw it as a, kind of using the power of brands to amplify certain parts of the business that they wanted to, focus more on. But the way to look at this arrangement with Black Diamond is more like there's really no precedent in our industry that I can think of. Maybe Patagonia, Patagonia's store fleet they have certain owner-run sort of franchises, including Vail. A lot of the mountain stores in Colorado are Vail owned, but a Patagonia customer walking in that store is going to have a complete Patagonia experience. They wouldn't even know that
Right.
Vail owned it. So I think that's a model that is maybe similar to what we're doing. I think the real difference between this concept and what we've seen with other brand stores is the inclusion of other mountaineering and backcountry skiing and climbing brands in our product mix. And also Wilderness Exchange will continue to operate used consignment in their sample business out of the same location. So there'll be two stores kind of joining forces. And the real difference between this and I guess the mono brand store, if you would, is that mono brand stores, they're great. They're growing. They effectively tell brand stories to the customer, but in some ways they don't contextualize the brand within the sports that they're doing. And what we're trying to do is create this concept of a full service mountain shop where a climber, backcountry skier can walk in. They'll have a selection of a couple of different skis, choice of bindings, choice of other specialty climbing devices like the Gree and several different climbing shoes on the wall. So climbers and backcountry skiers will still be able to be fully outfitted head to toe in the mountain shop.
I bristle at the mono stores. I don't like branded stores. I don't like, and maybe that's just sort of my experience in other brands. I walk in and I'm like, this is just boring, and especially in today's outdoor industry where so much, it's usually apparel, right? And it's going to be, you can swap the logos off of most brands. And you're like, if you took the logos off at a mono store, like, whose store is this? You'd have a really tough time trying to figure out who it is.
It's probably made at the same factory as the other mono store brand down.
Let me look at the ephemera on the wall and I can tell you.
Exactly.
Right?
That's the only way to tell. And so the idea of sort of, a deeper collaboration with a brand and a retailer is great. Now, I mean, so I look at this and you say, okay, you welcome in competing brands. I understand. Well, maybe not competing brands, you welcome in other brands. Will competing brands be a piece of it? Or is it more like, hey, there's categories that Black Diamond doesn't play in.
Oh, yeah.
So we can have other brands there.
It. Like Black Diamond dominates in certain categories, like climbing hardware, harness program, anything.
But could you have other competitors in those categories, or is it like no, that's going to be owned by Black Diamond?
Likely not, where they have a real position of strength in those categories,
right?
But they don't make an auto-assisted belay device. They don't make every climbing shoe, every fit, every type of last. There's a real initiative with the distance pack, the light and fast, or the Beta Light series, and there's no sleeping bags in the line. So we're going to bring in brands like Western Mountaineering to elevate those categories that Black Diamond is really committed to and wants to move forward with.
How did this come about in terms of the concept? Like Colin was kind of getting at, when you start talking about what you could do together, the mono store seems like the first stop in that. Like, okay, but how quickly did it become clear that a multi-brand solution was maybe the right way to go?
Well, they've had a history of doing that. The Black Diamond store at the corporate headquarters. I mean, if you went to Salt Lake, you stopped at the Black Diamond, HQ store, and they had at one point 20 different brands in there, but they did move away from that, and that store has now become more of the traditional single branded store. And I think there's a real interest in the leadership at Black Diamond to bring that mountain shop, that full service piece of the business, into their fleet of brand stores. They just see it as better serving the customer.
Well, and I back to the thing about the mono store as well. Like this is something I'll be interested. This is an interesting case study if this goes, well, right? Because, for Black Diamond, I mean, it just makes sense. It's like, the idea of opening your own stores is an incredibly costly and logistically challenging proposition, right? I think there was something in the news, like Stio just opened a store in Steamboat. And I know Stio has been pretty committed to opening stores for most of their history.
Yeah.
But just to kind of put it next to each other, it's like, well, okay. And could you pick a market, and would it be better for you to just partner with somebody who exists in that market already, as opposed to go sign a lease, go staff it up, bring all your inventory in, all of these other things that are logistically challenging, which you have expertise in because you've been doing it for 25 years.
It's
So
hard
it
to
makes a
be
lot of sense.
great at everything. I mean, if you're a great manufacturer of equipment, it's hard to be a great retailer too. And I think that's why they're really leaning into the idea of, really seasoned operators being able to more effectively run operationally, a retail store.
Yeah.
But you look at places like Boulder, right? And there's 10, 12, at least 12 brand stores now on Pearl Street. And that creates a kind of symbiosis too. And I think that when you have a concentration of brand stores, it's not as boring as like you say. I mean, you really can go, you can go from Arc'teryx
Sure.
to Black Diamond to La Sportiva. And these are real core outdoor brands. These aren't just like, I'm wearing athleisure clothes on Sunday and it looks great, and I walk to the mall. These are core brands doing this, but it seems to work best where there's a concentration of them. And that's what I learned, what I brought to Denver from, my origins of working outdoor retail in Berkeley, California. It was,
Mm-hmm.
we were talking before we started the conversation here, Colin, it was the golden era. Like you had REI and Gilman and San Pablo. There was a Wilderness Exchange. There was a windsurfing shop. Windsurfing was really big at that time. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah. Extreme, baby.
So extreme. No fear. No fear. Wait, actually,
You know what? We also played.
Well played.
We also played a lot of co-ed naked sports back then too, guys.
That's right. That's right.
Like canooding. That was one of our popular activities.
It was.
Yeah. Yeah. You had a Royal Robbins factory outlet, a North Face factory outlet. So many companies Platypus started right next door to REI. Walrus Tents, the founders of Sierra Design, who also founded Sierra Designs in that area. Mountain Hardware. So it's just this. We called it the Gear Ghetto because it's kind of what it was. It was like manufacturers.
That's a great name for a shop. I want to write that down. Sorry, we might be moving in next to you with the Gear Ghetto. Like, sorry.
I mean, and we were undesirable, right? We were dirtbags. We slept in our cars. It was not actually admirable at that point to sleep in your van. It was kind of something your parents were ashamed of.
Right. Now they make money on it.
Yeah, it's like, my son's an influencer. He lives in his van.
Yeah, right.
Oh.
So there are some obvious like upsides, I think, for BD, right? To my point, it's costly to open your own stores. You kind of like, you sort of mitigate some of that risk by partnering with somebody. What are sort of the biggest upsides, for you as the independent business owner here? Because there's a world where you could just go really deep on BD products and just treat them like any other vendor. And, but in terms of like, you're going to be shutting your store down, right? You're going to be making renovations, like all of those things. So what is it? What was really enticing about doing a deal like this for you guys?
I think the power of that brand. Like Black Diamond they are enmeshed in the history of climbing and backcountry skiing. I mean, I think about, Yvon Chouinard starting Chouinard Equipment and, eventually he broke off the equipment part of it and he kept the most lucrative part, the clothing, because there was Patagonia clothing was a part of of Chouinard Equipment back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And, just that legacy of that brand. I mean, it is really, if you're a climber or a skier or a really core mountain athlete, you've had a piece of Black Diamond equipment in your kit. I mean, you just have. It's been somewhat, that legacy of that brand is just very different than any other brand that we carry, especially in North America.
So this is a one of one. There's not probably another brand you work with you'd consider doing something like this with.
No, I wouldn't consider it. I mean, because our specialty has been the core mountain sports, the hard goods. And Black Diamond has been our number one vendor for over 20 years. And I think most operators who operate mountain specialty outdoor stores, if Black Diamond is not your number one vendor, they're probably a close second or third. And it was a big deal. Like I remember writing a letter to Peter Metcalf back when I opened my shop in 2000. I was like, hey, you really need to open this because we're going to be the greatest mountaineering and climbing shop in Denver. And we took all these photos of our wall and we had like one climbing brand at the time. So we're like, all right, spread the carabiners out make it look flush, like put each carabiner on its own hook. It's like, see, you need to be a part of this. And he wrote me this really thoughtful, almost like a 3 or 4 page letter. I still have it back. And he's like, when you do get open with Black Diamond, you'll appreciate the vetting process that we go through and selecting our dealers. And just be patient and I just knew we had to have that brand in our store to be a legitimate climbing mountaineering store. And, and we were open 6 months later, and that was probably 01, 02. So we've had a relationship with the company for 23, 24 years now.
All right. So logistically though, right, you're about to close, you're a month away from closing, and you're not going to open again until January. So you're giving away a holiday season.
I know that's hard.
Yeah.
The
So
timing
like,
is-
Okay, well, hold on.
Yeah.
What in the world were you thinking?
I don't know.
the best time of year for retail? Fuck that. We're not even going
Right.
to do it this year.
You couldn't
it's
wait till
especially right now,
January?
we do everything different.
Right?
We have a website. I mean, since 2005, 2006, we adopted e-commerce and omni-channel, marketplaces. So we sell on our website. We sell on as a third-party seller on Amazon. So that business will continue. So I think that we're not just totally cutting off our heads. We're maybe just cutting off an arm, being close to the holiday. And I'll tell you that early season has been it's become increasingly volatile in terms of snowfall. It's been unpredictable. Like last year, it didn't snow until January. We really didn't have November, December holiday season. Of course, when it started snowing, all the gates opened up. But I think our winters are getting less predictable. So these traditional sales seasons are changing and shifting a lot.
And then the secondhand part of the business has been crucial almost from the get-go, right? I mean, that's been something that you guys, you've been ahead of the curve on that.
Yeah, and that's been, even though we're seeing, a slight downturn in demand on a lot of our categories from apparel to hard goods, the used business and consignment business continues to just grow. I mean, it's one of the strongest parts of the business.
That's a big thing. I mean, that's the
It's a
future,
big
right? I
thing.
mean, I have a daughter in college now, and so does David. And, and it's like, this is, a lot of times this is what they're thinking first. I mean, some of that is, I think,
are.
probably good parenting, but I think it's also generational.
On your part.
Yeah, we taught them that. No, but I think, a lot of my, then I have kids in middle school too. And like they all love to go thrifting. They go to the secondhand shop. Like it's amazing. It's great. It's what we need. I guess on the industry side, though, I kind of look at this as like it feels a little box checky with a lot of brands. They all have, hey, we have our secondhand marketplace on our website now, right? And it's like, yeah, but now I got to think like, oh, I want a Patagonia thing, so I'll go to Warnwear, or I want Stio, or name whoever. Like I got to go to their specific marketplace.
It's a poor experience shopping for it.
It is. And I feel like this is another opportunity for brands to partner with existing secondhand retailers, right?
Yeah.
Like how do you between either a brick and mortar place like yourself or a gear trade or something like that, right? Make it easier for the shopper to find your secondhand stuff so that area of our industry can grow.
The problem is that it's one, if you're trying to just use a general marketplace like eBay or Facebook Marketplace, there's a lot of unreliable sellers out there. You really don't know what you're getting. Yeah. And even like the online experience with places like Gear Trade, you really don't know what you're getting. They try to be as descriptive as possible in terms of what the condition of the piece is, but man, you can't tell until you have that in your hand. I think the future of the used marketplace will be somehow there needs to be an aggregator of outdoor gear or of used gear that allows you to categorically shop, that allows you to I want to build my kit. I can't just go to this website, to that website and piece this together in a really meaningful way. Like a true shopping experience, a departmental shopping experience. And not one standalone used gear shop can do that. And I don't think brands can do it. And I don't think that a lot of the used marketplace online places can really do that effectively or to its potential. So I think there's a huge, that's a whole other discussion, but and there's a huge opportunity there in the used
for the industry. Yeah.
And think about it too. If you're selling online, and you're paying for AdWords, you're paying for Google marketing, you have one item that's gonna compete with a whole line like the Arc'teryx Gamma. If I have an Arc'teryx Gamma, I can't bid on that one item for one word for one product. You need to bid in terms of a large assortment and selection and deep inventory, or it just doesn't make sense. So it's not really, you can't really show up online for searches for key products if you just have one used gear thing for sale. So there's really a gap. There's a void in it that somebody's going to figure it out how to fill that void. They always do.
I guess last question, man, like, back to the BD of it all, like, how are you guys going to gauge success? Like, what is success for you? Like, if we're checking in with you in 6, 12, 18, 36 months, how are you looking at, as this a successful venture for Wilderness Gear Exchange?
We're already seeing some success just by the response of our customers. I mean, we expected that, change rattles people, and changing like a legacy store like Wilderness Exchange into a different model or different concept. We expected that there would be a lot of concerns from our loyal customers, and it's been really supportive. I've been kind of surprised that we've seen a lot of excitement about the idea. And I think that if we can deliver an experience to our customers that is beyond what we're capable of doing, in the context of this brand at this place in Denver, and see success with it, and see customers coming in and customers, celebrating the brand and celebrating, the outdoor places that they go to, and continue to tell the stories that we tell in our stores, I think that we will have succeeded. And I really hope that this is kind of a model that can help other businesses, especially shops like mine in urban areas that are seeing, I think, the biggest impact on right now there's a decrease in consumer demand. Like we know the story. Like everybody bought all their stuff during the pandemic, and there's a lot of gear out there, and people have done other things with their discretionary income, like Taylor Swift, Italy, all those things that people are spending their money on. Taylor Swift single-handedly derailed the outdoor industry. I'm pretty convinced.
I love that. I'll back you on that. We'll do a few episodes just specifically on that alone. How dare you, Taylor Swift? How dare you destroy our beautiful industry?
How dare you be so successful and court all of the money away from the outdoor industry?
They should have been buying jackets with Don instead.
But if we can get those Swifties into hiking, we've got something here, right? Let's call it Swift hiking. No more ultralight.
Swift hiking.
Swift hiking. You guys, this will work.
We
can do this.
Someone get Coop on the phone. We're going to bring Go Light back as a Swift hiking brand. It's going to be great. That's right.
Go Swift.
What the heck happened? She had a drink and it was like a Stanley bottle. And then suddenly Stanley's like $1 billion in sales.
We're going to give the Stanley Revolution to credit. That goes to Taylor. Is that what we're doing now?
Let's give her a cam. Like we get Taylor Swift needs to like rack up, man. She needs to like get on the rock, right?
Right?
Oh, I like this.
That's what we need.
I like this. Yeah.
That's how we get to what's the next multiple after a trillion? It's like,
gazillion.
I think they call that a Taylor.
A Taylor. That's right. We go from $1 trillion industry to
million,
a Taylor.
Billion, trillion, Taylor. Yeah.
Taylorillions.
So I will have one last question based on you mentioned that 13th and in Boulder has really got an assortment of outdoor specialties, and how that kind of concentration really does kind of help overall. Just because you've been in the industry a long time, you're an outdoorsy guy, what do you call a concentration of outdoor specialty shops? I mean, we know there's a murder of crows, you've got a pack of
dogs.
Yeah, that's right. What is a concentration of outdoor?
A gaggle?
A gear gaggle.
A gaggle of shops?
We could go with the gear gaggle theme.
The gear gaggle?
It's true. I've got down a range of outfitters.
Well, these shops are in Boulder, so pretentious should probably be worked into there somehow,
Right? A guild of gearheads.
On that, I'm gonna
right. You think about that. My favorite one right now is a carton of dirt bags.
Oh, that's it. That's it. I like that one. A carton of dirt bags.
Just something to think about, you guys, as we move on, because I love the idea of the strength in numbers aspect, and it does allow customers to, like you say, see the nuanced differences between the brands and what they're bringing to the experience, and that is also important. And I really like what you guys are doing. I think you're thinking about the industry health as a whole. I've been such a fan of the multi-brand.
Yeah.
You can still have a large leader set up the experience, get the things going, and then invite the rest of the range. I mean, it's so, as an outdoor specialty owner, that's been your world. So it's not new, but it's so vital to the industry to keep that, as long as we make sure that we keep we can be competitors and friends, and we need to be,
I think that's the case on Platt Street. When we located down here, it really, REI opening the flagship store in year 2000 was the main influencer and why we chose Platt Street to open. And I kind of brought that vision of Berkeley with me. It's like, man, this is the place where the gear ghetto of Denver could really happen. And it did. We shortly after we opened, a skateboard shop opened. There's been several bike stores on the street. And now, there's a Fjall Raven, there's a Rab, Athleta, pedestrian shop. So I think the way that people are shopping today, they're no longer driving to one standalone store on the other side of town. They want to fill their kit, and it's as much about that
it's neighborhood
external environment as well as the internal ecosystem you're creating with your own store with your brands. And I think that's just such a fitting. It's going to really, I think, supercharge Platt Street and create more interest. Hopefully, more brands will come down, more retailers. We sure could use a bike shop on our street. I mean, there's just so much opportunity that these centers of outdoor shops can do with the community and add value to it.
Well, we'll have to check in with you. Well, actually, Neil Fisk from BD is going to come on the show in a week or two. We're going to get the BD side of this as well, which we're excited to talk to him about that and a few other things. But best of luck. Definitely excited to see how this plays out. I think that there's going to be, to your point, a lot of learnings for other retailers, other brands about how to kind of approach these relationships going forward. So, thanks for making a few minutes to come on with us, and good luck, man.
Yeah, thanks, Colin. Appreciate it. Great talking to you guys.
Enjoy your first calm holiday that you've had in 25 years. Yeah,
we're going to Black Friday's just going to kind of be, we'll sit in our lawn chairs and
just going to watch football and eat turkey, whatever. This is what everybody else does.
What the heck? Let's do it.
Yep.
It's amazing. Well, right on, man. Well, thanks so much for making some time and coming on the show.
Yeah, great conversation. Yep.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that's the show for today. Big thanks to our guest, Don Bushy. Send your feedback on this new brand and retail relationship to myrockfight@gmail.com. Our producer today was producer Dave Karstad. Art direction provided by Sarah, the Commissioner Gensert. I'm Colin True. Thanks for listening. And here to take us out straight from Rockview, it's Krista Makes. And he's going to sing the Rock Fight fight song. We'll see you next time, Rock Fighters.
Rock fight.